When most of us think of cross-country skiing, we think of the diagonal stride, or the classic technique as we call it. The diagonal stride is the technique that looks like walking. However, it's really not at all like walking. There's a common misconception. People often say that if you can walk, you can cross-country ski. The reality is that if you can walk, you could probably walk with cross-country skis on, but that's really not cross-country skiing. And it certainly isn't diagonal stride. The classic technique of cross-country skiing is all about weight transfer. It's all about committing 100% of your body weight to one leg at a time. In order to ski effectively, you have to feel comfortable skiing on one leg. If you don't fundamentally understand the essence of the diagonal stride or the classic technique, and you watch somebody who's skiing, you probably won't have any idea about what the real dynamics of diagonal stride are. It's very easy to misconceive what's really taking place. If you look at what's going on, it's really not obvious. Often people confuse the fact that a highly raised trailing leg is what is in fact propelling the skier forward. The reality is that that raised leg dangling behind a fast-moving skier is the result, not the cause of their speed. It's like the tail wagging the dog. The fact that the leg is raised and out back is simply a result of moving quickly along. If you're moving slowly, it's quite likely that your leg, or your trailing leg in fact, will not leave the surface of the snow at all. When you're moving quickly, it's not uncommon for your trailing leg to disengage from the track and end up being raised behind and above the snow surface. That's just the result. It's not the cause. The cause, in fact, is that downward push of your weighted leg and that forward kick onto your gliding leg. We often refer to the technique of classic skiing as a kick and glide. This is often very much misunderstood. The kick is actually the kick of a soccer ball, not the kick of a mule. Often people think of it as the same technique that would be used on a scooter or on a skateboard. But in reality, it's very different from that. Remember that the way that skis work is to grip, you need to actually push down on a ski, not push backwards. If you push backwards, or in fact, if you push across the surface of the snow, the shear force allows you to slide. It provides almost no grip. So in order to push yourself forward, you actually have to push downwards on your weighted leg in order to propel yourself forward. Think of the kick, in fact, as the kick of a soccer ball. You're actually kicking your weight onto your gliding leg. Your arm movements, or your ski pole movements, are actually responsible for giving the name diagonal stride to this technique. Your arm movements are diagonally opposed to the leg movements. So think of it, we're actually moving our arms in opposition to our leg movements. In reality, this is a very natural movement. It's actually the same kind of arm movements that you would naturally adhere to if you were walking or running. If you just simply relax your arms, they're going to swing in the correct coordinated movements to your legs. The double poling technique is a technique that's used both in skating and in classic. We rely on our core muscles, or our body core, in order to make use of this technique. It's initiated by a downward press with our upper body weight being pressed onto our poles with our arms rigidly held in place. As we push through with our upper body, we then, and only then, extend with our arms. The arms are only brought into play at the very end of the double pole. The recovery phase, which is often overlooked in double poling, is also very important. As we recover, we're actually standing upright and tall and transferring our weight forward. And that extension forward is often what gives us an extra little bit of momentum. Sometimes if you look at a very fast-moving double poling skier, it looks like they're standing up on their tiptoes as they're thrusting forward on that recovery phase. That's simply a result of that extended forward thrust. It often unweights the skis and helps drive you forward. In order to extend the power phase of your double poling, you can introduce a kick with your legs into your double pole. That's the technique that we refer to as the kick double pole. In a kick double pole, you're coordinating a leg push with an arm or upper body push. We use this technique in order to propel ourselves along a flat or slightly uphill grade. In order to get up a hill, we use a technique that we refer to as herringbone. The herringbone is formed by placing our skis in a V-shaped pattern with our edges dug into the hill. In order to accomplish that, we place our skis diagonally to the fall line, and flexing our knees forward, we actually cause our edges to bite into the snow, giving us traction. Start out by practicing the herringbone at a walking pace. As you feel more comfortable and coordinated with this movement, you can then extend it into a stride or a run even up a hill. It takes a lot more effort to run than it does to walk. It also takes more coordination in order to do it comfortably and stably. So remember to walk before you run. In order to go down a hill under control or to slow yourself down when gliding quickly, you can use the opposite technique of the herringbone, and that's the snowplow. The snowplow, you form your skis into a V with your inside edges dug in. That's what slows you down. In order to accelerate on a downhill or on a flat surface, you can assume a tuck position. A tuck position does two things. It lowers your center of gravity, increasing your stability. It also reduces your aerodynamic profile in order to move quickly. So assume a tuck position in order to maintain or increase your speed on a downhill or flat surface. In order to get around corners, step or even skate through those corners by making quick step motions with your legs. The purpose of this video is to provide you with an outline of the various techniques that we make use of in cross-country skiing. It's up to you to go out there and practice these techniques as often as possible and slowly perfect them and feel more confident in your ability as a skier. Remember, it takes 10,000 kilometers to make an expert skier. And it's those first few kilometers that are always the hardest. So go out there and have a great time skiing. Remember, we do this for fun.